What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Elaboration Station. If all passengers can take their seats, we're ready for liftoff. Cue the music.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Elaboration Station. I'm your host, Tanner Westbrook, and here's another one. I kind of messed with a little bit of the audio today, so I don't know how good it's going to sound, but we're going to give it a shot. Experimentation, that's the name of the game right now, at least, because I don't have a whole lot of people listening to these. At least I don't think I do, because I can't see how many people watch my shit. But yeah, sitting here in my truck, it's you could do this anywhere, which is pretty dope. I have a decent mic. I mean, my setup's pretty basic. I'll post a picture of it on Instagram, and it's just me sitting in my truck with a little microphone, and it sounds pretty good. At least I think it does. But so last week I was going to try to do 3 episodes or 3 podcasts during the week, but I got totally off track and decided to really fuck my fingers up trying to play the guitar. But in the last one, I talked about my Elixir new strings that I put on there, and it sounded way better. So I spent a lot of last week practicing and trying to get better at that, but I'm still terrible. But it's fun. So those strings sound good. The guitar's pretty good, but I looked up my amp that I've been using, and it's like $36, so I can upgrade on that. But we'll wait to do that until I get a little bit better. But I've been trying to learn more about investing and kind of starting your own business, and they don't teach you shit about any of that stuff in school. And I mean, even my mom and dad, they didn't really learn that stuff in school either, because they don't know about it right now. And investing, you could talk to, it seems what I've read, at least, or listened to. I like books on audio. I consider that, I hope it's reading, because that's an easier way to get it done. But I'm reading one book, and it says that people that you go to invest your money with, like a accountant or something, someone who, is a broker that kind of invests your money, and they kind of can fuck you if you really don't know, what's going on. It's kind of cruel, in this world. The younger generation doesn't know a whole lot because other people have fucked them or fucked their parents and kind of made them steer clear of, telling their kids about it. And it's important, set up. I'm lucky. My mom and dad, they knew enough. So what I do every year, I put a little money into an IRA right now, which is, I'm not sure the exact term, but it's like a retirement fund. And, I do that, and it's not terribly hard to do. So if you do anything, you should probably try to put some money away more than once a year, but you should do it every month. And, it's important, especially if you want to, have a chance at actually retiring. Now, I don't want to say, retire, because I probably won't ever retire. I enjoy working and being very active, but it would be amazing to be able to do whatever I wanted to do and just kind of not skate through life when I get older, but have something set up, in the future. I can kind of do what I want and not have to worry about making a house payment and all the little knick-knack stuff that comes along with, being an adult. You kind of can set stuff up to keep all that, and be prepared for that. So it's pretty. I'm just getting started. Phone. Stupid phone. But yeah, so I'm trying to learn more about that right now. I got 2 books going. Rich Dad Poor Dad. I finished that one, but I'll probably reread it again. It's very interesting to hear other people's perspective on, how to learn about that stuff. And that's what this book talks about. And it stems from your parents. Most rich people's parents, at least if they're business people, they're probably going to teach their kids about money and how to, set yourself up, which, when you're scraping by your entire life, paycheck to paycheck, you kind of fall into that routine too, unless you try to get out of it, which it's funny. I'm trying to start this and kind of pave a new path. My mom and dad want me to do golf course stuff. At least they don't want me to, but that's what they're expecting me to do. And they don't understand what this could possibly become. They're not very, my mom likes to use Facebook. She gets the basics, but they don't see like the internet becoming like a like your own business type thing. So trying to, this is hard. They don't understand that. So it's weird to, some of the podcasters that I listen to, they're like, people don't know what podcasts are. And that's my mom and dad right now. So it's interesting to see how people just don't quite understand what this is or what it could be. But I think this could be the future of like car travel, traveling in a car, podcasts instead of radio. People have been kind of doing this stuff for a long time. It's just in a different format. So I'm super, super excited about this, but it's cool because for me, starting this now, talking about this kind of stuff, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. This might just be shit out on the internet, or this could be the start of something big for my life, which is very cool to have. If I do what I have planned in my head, I can come back and listen to this stuff and it'll be just at the beginning. Like, just if I get good at the guitar, listening back saying, oh yeah, I did suck. It takes a long way to get to where you want to go. So it's always a path. But yeah, the investment thing is big, especially for millennials. I know I'm switching subjects, but I got a bunch of shit rattling. I was trying to write it down, but I had it all fresh in my brain, so I figured I'd just get on the mic and talk about it. But yeah, they don't teach you shit in school about investing and investing money and kind of what you should be doing to set stuff up for the future for yourself. A lot of people go to school, they get student loans out, they're in debt. It's a vicious process. But I'm trying not to do that. You could easily look at a Tony Robbins book or something like that and kind of try to learn about it. So I don't want to be the one that just sits around and doesn't be proactive with my income or just trying to invest. My dad, but the guy that owns our golf course, very intelligent, older, wise businessman. I asked him, what if you could go back if you could go back in time and tell your 23-year-old self some advice to be more successful than he already was, what would he tell him? And the first one, he kind of lumped 2 together. He said, 1 and 2, don't drink and don't smoke cigarettes. And, I think that's a big one. People go down, that you could go down the rabbit hole with that. And, smoking, now it's getting to be more of a taboo thing, smoking cigarettes. But I mean, people still do it, which is crazy. But drinking too I'm not a huge drinker. I don't like I don't get too crazy when it comes to drinking. I might have a beer every once in a while, but nothing crazy. And that just kills your productivity, I think. And that's the name of the game now, especially in these competitive times. So, those were two pretty good tips. And then the next one was, he said, always pay yourself first, which was very interesting. And I've heard it before in a book, and it's a different thought to say, hey, I'm going to put this money away for my future self right now, every time you get a paycheck. That's before you pay bills or do all of that shit that you have to do and watch your paycheck just dwindle away. But, when you're scrapping together money and barely making it, to try to put money away for yourself is tough. It's hard. Even if it's $20, he said, just $20-$30, put it in there. It builds over time. You just don't touch it. It's one of those weird concepts. But, yeah, it was, and we got talking on that, and he didn't really say anything after that. But it was very, very interesting to hear him say, pay yourself first. And I'm lucky my mom and dad knew, they started me a savings when I was young, taught me about money. They got me a credit card, be responsible. I've always been very responsible with money, but I never really put enough money away growing up. And I kind of regret that now, because when you're young, you don't really have to worry about that stuff, and you don't think about it because you're so young. But when I was 16, you're making money. You're not really, I worked. I've always worked my whole life, at least since I was 16. Once I had a car, my mom and dad said I had to get a job to pay for gas. So, and I made more than what I've made in gas. I wish I would have put that money away. But, it's a learning thing. That's why this podcast thing is so intriguing to me right now, because from the time that this has kind of come into my life, I've really expanded my brain, thinking, at least, not just actions or anything, just trying to challenge myself mentally, which I haven't done since I was in high school. And it's awesome. It's a good feeling. You feel very accomplished, and it's nice to kind of work towards something. I've always been a big, I visualize stuff very clearly in my mind before I want it to happen. When I was younger, I liked to play golf, and I was convinced I was going to be a pro golfer. So I tried to do that for a while. I didn't know the right way to put this, but I thought I was going to try to play golf professionally, and I was, just at the beginning of the trail when it comes to that. And, practicing a lot, qualified for a big tournament, got injured. It was just frustrating. But in all the time practicing, you learn to kind of put yourself in a stressful situation. So when you play golf and you have to make a putt, you've been there before mentally. And I got good at visualizing what I wanted to happen. And it's interesting because all of what you do now, you can line the pieces up in the future. So like Steve Jobs said, you can't connect all the dots when they're happening, but you can connect them looking back. He gave that famous speech in Stanford before he died, but it was I listen to a lot of stuff like that. I've listened to podcasts for a long time, but I never knew they were podcasts. I used to listen to Joe Rogan. I would type in Joe Rogan motivational speeches on YouTube, and it was a bunch of clips from his podcast. I didn't know what they were. So I've listened to stuff like that for a long time, motivational, be better at life type stuff. And, you know, a lot of it's